has long promised to end birthright citizenship, most recently in an interview with NBC's Kristen Welker.
You've promised to end birthright citizenship on day one. Is that still your plan?
Yeah. If somebody sets a foot, just a foot, 1 foot, you don't need two, on our land, congratulations, you are now a citizen of the United States of America. Yes, we're going to end that because it's ridiculous.
That's... Look, I think he's talking about what was known as the wet foot, dry foot policy under the Cuban Adjustment Act of 1966. That law said that Cuban refugees who made it to American shores were allowed to stay, but migrants interdicted at sea were to be returned to Cuba. Honestly, that has zero to do with birthright citizenship, but okay, since there appears to be some confusion on this topic, let's go back to the beginning. In the beginning, there was racism. Specifically, at its founding, it was legal in roughly half of this country to own other human beings as property. And at the Constitutional Convention of 1787, there was a fight about how to count those enslaved black people for the purpose of congressional apportionment. Slave states wanted to increase their proportional share of the population and thus their number of congressional representatives by counting slaves. Free states wanted not that. And so they passed what became known as the Three-Fifths Compromise. Enslaved people counted as 3/5 of a non-enslaved person for the purposes of the census, and Native Americans were excluded entirely. Now, there were black free persons in America, but in 1856, the Supreme Court ruled in the infamous Dred Scott case that because Scott's ancestors were kidnapped from Africa and sold as slaves, he was not a citizen of the state of Missouri where he lived. 7 years later, President Abraham Lincoln abolished slavery in the United States, and then we had a war, which the Confederacy lost. And that meant that the Three-Fifths Compromise was no longer operable. And so the question became, if you're now 5/5 of a person, does that automatically make you a citizen? After the Civil War, during the period known as Reconstruction, Congress took its first crack at answering that question with the Civil Rights Act of 1866. It said that all persons born in the United States and not subject to any foreign power, excluding Indians not taxed, were hereby declared to be citizens of the United States. And then in 1868, Congress made it part of the Constitution as the 14th Amendment, which reads, "All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws." Freed slaves were, at least on paper, American citizens, equal under the law. Obviously, we've fallen down a lot on those ideals. We're still fighting to ensure racial equality. But as to citizenship, the amendment is unambiguous on its face. If you are born here, you are a U.S. citizen with